I think the title when I walked in here was, do changing technologies require changes in airport ground transportation?
That's correct.
And I added a little bit of that to that in my presentation. Not only do they require changes in airport ground transportation, but existing concession agreements that airports have with us today. And that's kind of going to be my subject as I go through here. And before I really get started, I want to make it perfectly clear that I have really the utmost respect for every airport executive in this room and every airport executive across the country. You always have had very difficult jobs. Now more than ever, similar to us, you have very difficult jobs in how to deal with the TNCs and the Ubers. As you're dealing with it, we're dealing with it, but a lot of the things I've heard today really scare the hell out of me. And when we're talking about an honor system, and I understand you're going to get out of the honor system and get something downstream that's going to help you count revenue in loops, and I understand that. You know, at the same time, there's a lot of companies here in airports that have spent millions of dollars with AVI systems watching your concession people today because you inherently know the honor system doesn't work. And that part is troubling, so I hope we can move quickly to that. I also am very impressed. I mean, San Francisco and other airports have really taken on the TNC issue, and I applaud you for that. And the geofencing sounds great, and I think it's going to work today. The problem that I've found in our industry is things that control revenue and work today don't work tomorrow. And the bottom line on that is, and I'm going to confess here, drivers sit in holding lots, they sit at home, and they lie awake at night trying to find a way to beat the system. Whether it's the airport system, whether it's the Uber system, whether it's the super shuttle system, it doesn't matter. What they're trying to do is put more money in their pocket. And there's hundreds and thousands of these guys out there trying to figure out a way to do that. So that's why I get nervous when I hear about things like that. Again, I applaud you for doing it. I think it's good. I think it's what you have to do. In your position, I'd probably be doing the same thing. But at the same time, we need to be really careful about some of that stuff. So with that, I'm gonna continue on here and go forward. So we've all been coming to these, or many of us have been coming to these meetings for years, and we're talking about technology and changing and how that changes our programs. But the shared ride landscape is still something to keep in mind here, because these are things that as operators we deal with on a daily basis other than just TNCs. Driver model issues, remember that? We had what, 5 meetings on employees versus independent contractors? That's not even on the radar now. It's on my radar. It's probably on your radar and other operators' radar. Still a major issue, still a major concern of the shared ride industry from an operator standpoint. Vehicle types, the 4350 is going away. It's been a workhorse rather, for the shared ride industry for years. We're all going to have to find a new vehicle. Big concern of ours. Remember when we used to come to meetings and vehicle people would come and talk to you about new vehicles? We've had plenty of meetings on that through the years. Doesn't seem to be on the radar as much, but still on ours. Alternative fuel options are very limited. You know, we're working right now to find out what we're going to do. Airports require your concessionaire or your concessions to have alternative fuel in many markets. Ford doesn't have a CNG option right now. They don't have a propane option right now. I don't know what we're going to do. I know a lot of airports are working with us. I know San Francisco is working with us to try to get through that piece, but that's going to be something that, outside of all the TNC noise, we're going to have to work on and get together. Safety event cameras and follow-up, man. We used to talk about that too. Still a very important part of our, from a concession standpoint, from Super Shuttle, and I know Go and many other operators, still a very good concern, big concern. How do you get the best camera, the best price in your unit for that camera? How do you do the best follow-up with your drivers? How do you get unsafe drivers off the road? That kind of stuff. Still part of our landscape. And obviously customer service and improved technology. Here's the shared ride competitive landscape. Some of it's the same as it's always been. For me, from a shared ride standpoint, I have to deal with taxis, parking, and kiss and fly. Okay? Obviously, new technology companies will probably take away from Super Shuttle and from shared ride and taxi and parking and from kiss and fly. If they take away from kiss and fly, I think we're all happy in this room. Okay? I know I am. It's always an awkward moment when Jim drops me off at the airport. But you know, outside of that, that's still stuff we've got to deal with on a daily basis. Other shared ride providers. GO's got those pesky Super Shuttle people flying around. Super Shuttle's got the pesky GO people flying around. There's lots of other companies that have, their competitors. We're still dealing with that on a daily basis. Unauthorized transportation providers. I think Fozzie brought it up a little bit yesterday. The old style bandits. They'd sit by your ticket counter or they go to the curb and say, "Where are you going? How much you paying? I'll get you there," right? We still deal with that, okay? We also deal with illegal TNC activity, which is probably not very much different than those bandits, except they're on a mobile app now. So we have to deal with that. That's changed a little bit. And then airport forming agreements with TNCs is part of our landscape. You're doing it because you have to do it. They're kicking the door in. Again, I'd do it if I was running an airport, but this is part of the competitive landscape going forward. So I'm always good at contradicting myself, and when I look at the landscape, it's staying the same in many ways, and it's changing at the same time. And current operators need to change quickly. Our contracts and new RFPs need to be reviewed, evaluated for both cost and requirements, and the airports need to develop a good TNC plan, which are already starting to do. So that's positive. I'm going to go a little bit into our technology. We have our state-of-the-art dispatching. We're all very proud of our systems. We have a smart drive system. We're proud of that. We're just now going through a complete website redesign. It's going to be out in about 45 days. I'm very excited. We'll be able to do a lot of what we call city pairing, find out where people are flying, book four legs of a trip. We're getting that going, and it's going to be, I'll have to admit, our website is a little bit behind the times, and we probably are a year or so behind on updating it, so we made a big jump on that. And then we have some new, what we think is new outbound technology, but it sounds like Mark's got some new outbound technology too. And that's because there's only so many ways to slice this stuff, all right? So it's mobile self-check-in, it's web interface today, it's going to go to an app platform later. It automates the check-in process. It eliminates the need for an airport ground coordinator, and uses text messaging as well. It's improving the guest experience, better and faster, paperless, shorter wait time, track your vehicle, and reduces congestions at the curbs and counters. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Sounds like what Uber's doing too, to some respect. Sounds very similar to what your stuff is, which is very impressive, by the way. And it gives a better alternative business platform for us. So here's how's our work, and you could probably take Super Shuttle off and put Hudson on there, or vice versa, because again, there's only so many ways to slice this stuff. You get a welcome message after you make a reservation, you fly, we track the flight, come down and says, hey, welcome to Phoenix, try our new mobile self-check-in, you put in your location, you check in what terminal you're at, we put the airlines on the terminals in case people don't know where they are. I know I never know where I am, so that's good. Next piece comes up, you check in, and then it goes right over and gets you going. So the second piece over here is my check-in. The guest goes ahead and checks in. He hasn't stopped by the desk. He hasn't seen an airport coordinator yet, and he's got a guest number of 318, and they say, hey, you're checked in, and this is where you're going. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. Now, technically what we try to do is get people to do this when they're ready to go, but there's nobody in this room that doesn't think someone's going to go ahead and check in on the plane, right? Like I said, I'm going to check in now so my clock can start running to get on that shared ride vehicle, and that's okay. We're okay with that. So once they're checked in, similar to the Mark and the Hudson group, you get checked in, you get assigned a vehicle, you get a message that you've been assigned a vehicle, and then you can go ahead and track your vehicle. And here's our map. There's where you're going to be, here's your vehicle coming in, and it works pretty well. Again, not much different from what a lot of you guys are doing, right? Pretty similar stuff. Matter of fact, we did not write our presentations together, but they do look eerily the same. All right. So we're happy with it. We've had a few issues downstream or along the way. One of those is the people not being out at the curb in time, okay? But hopefully what they're doing is they're seeing that van coming in, and they're saying, okay, I don't have time to stop for coffee or go to the bathroom or, in some people's cases, grab a beer before you get on. I got to get hurrying. Or if you still see it sitting there, you know you got a couple of minutes, and you're on their time, you're on their time, you're sharing time together, and you're making the connection, so it's worked out pretty well. The other piece that we've had to work through over the last couple of months, and it's pretty new for us, is just to make sure that all our cities put in the right information, the instructions. What's intuitive to me is not intuitive to everyone. I know it's not intuitive to my wife because she thinks one thing, I think the other, right, in life. That's the way it goes. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Our feedback has been great. They call it amazing. They say great work, thanks. There's a great link. More customer feedback, seamless operation, very impressed with the service. And we're getting this information because, similar to a lot of us out there, we're doing real-time surveys, quick 10 questions. Took it a little bit of one level above just rating the driver. We asked 10 questions. How was your ride? How was the van? How was the safety? Probably do a presentation on that some other day. But anyway, that's how our program's working. Our launch date was in January. We're doing about 175 outbound reservations per month. First of all, because we're still in a text messaging type situation, people have to let us know that we're okay sending text messages. 72% of our guests, or our passengers, say send away. Of that, right now, only 27% have opened the mobile self-check-in. It's MSCI. We got tired of keep typing mobile self-check-in, so we call it MSCI. And of that, 85% are completing it. So we're feeling very good. I can't tell you why the 15 doesn't complete it. Either it's a range issue, or it's they don't understand the instructions issue. We need to work on those. But we're very happy that we have such a high success rate. And really, it's only been around since January, and our big marketing was in February. So we're going to see this pick up, and our hope is to get everybody who's made a reservation to get onto this. So our next steps is to continue with the marketing. We're doing an email invite in May, and we're pushing that, and we're moving into more of an app type situation from a mobile website. So that's a little bit where we're at. Let me give a couple quick closing remarks here. Existing ground transportation providers got to raise their game, and I think we're trying to do that. Are we behind the 8 ball? A little bit. Should we have done it earlier? You could argue that we should have. But we're starting to raise our games with pieces of technology like this, and we know that customer service at the end of the day is going to prevail. 4 years ago, if you said to someone, what do you think about Uber? They wouldn't know what you were talking about, right? What do you think about customer service? Well, I want good customer service. People don't love Uber. They love customer service, okay? As Mark said and others have said, we can all provide that together as a group. And we've been providing that as a group together for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, okay? John McCarthy, 120 years in the business, all right? We can continue to do that. Airports need to review their contracts and look at their offerings. TNCs do essentially what we've been doing for years. They're taking reservations, matching people together, and putting them into vehicles and getting them home, right? Okay. And we're making some new rules for them, and that's fine. The question is, when I look at some TNC rules, are we going to ask the Ubers of the world to elevate some of their requirements, such as safety and background checks and all the issues that we want in this room? Are we going to ask them to elevate? Or are you going to look at current providers' concession agreements and bring them down to level out the playing field? What's the decision there? If you're going to ask the Ubers of the world to elevate, I'm going to tell you, they ain't going to do it. You're going to tell them they need to do it, and they're going to say, okay, and they're going to go upstream. If they don't like that answer, they're going to go upstream again. If they don't like that answer, they're going to keep going. If they don't get the answer they like, they're going to do it anyway. I think they've proven that. In Arizona, Jan Brewer shot down the TNC deal, okay? Prior to shooting it down, Uber said, if this gets shot down, we can't operate. We need you. We need everyone to vote for it. Write your congressman, right? It gets shot down. 24 hours, they said, damn torpedoes were here anyway. I don't know. I don't see that changing. This is a big group here. They got a lot of money. They're going to keep pushing on us. I think if I look at some of the requirements that exist in my contract today, which were fine when I signed them, because I believed I had to follow some rules, and I still believe that. Our company believes that. I think a lot of us believe that. We've got some contracts that don't allow us to change rates without approval. That seems antiquated to me at this point. We've got to do clean air energy vehicles in our airports. Why do we have to do that? Sorry, Mark, if you're still here. We like clean air. We may still do it, but why do we have to do it? Okay. We've got contracts that say I have to have a curb coordinator out at the airport in each terminal for 20 hours a day. Why? I mean, things I've been okay with for years, but if we're going to sort of go ahead and level the playing field and bring this other stuff in, I ask that from an airport and operator perspective, we both together, I mean, I know you guys are working hard on these TNC policies and stuff. We need to work just as hard to take a look at the existing concession groups. And I'm not saying help us, just update what we're doing at the same time. Work just as hard at these contracts on rates and fees and that kind of stuff as you're working on the other side so that we can be here. Mark, you had said something about no place like home. I mean, I'm saying let's click our heels together here. We've been partners for years and say there is no place like home, because you know what? If you give us rules, we're going to follow them. If you have the TNC rules, I don't know. Anyway, sorry for a little much there. Thanks.